Today the curtain is about to raise on the third part of this year's Tour de France. We had the flatlands of northern France, we had the mountains of the Alps. Well, today we're going into the Pyrenees, the second famous mountain chain of this very, very beautiful country. I hope you're enjoying the coverage this year of the Tour de France here on SBS, because it's turning out to be a very intriguing event. Yes, Miguel Indurain is a solid leader, but there are so many riders behind who want to ride well in the Tour de France. Today they must prove that point. Let's remind ourselves of the overall situation on the morning of the ride into the Pyrenees. Miguel Indurain is leading this race by 3 minutes and 23 seconds ahead of the Colombian climber Alvaro Mejia. But watch out now for Zenon Jaskrula. Is he strong or is he kidding? And certainly Tony Rominger feels the pressure now. He believes he can move a lot closer to Miguel Indurain. Today is the day. Just take a look at the route here. The riders going over the second category climbs. There are 4 of them. There are 3 first category climbs, including the famous Port d'Envalira, which comes midway through as we go into Andorra. And then we have a new finish in Andorra, and it's all uphill. That also is a first category tag. This is going to be a viciously cruel day. Alan Piper in the village this morning with 1 or 2 nervous riders, I suspect.
Phil, today looks like being a really difficult day.
Yeah, pretty tough day. I think we got like 8 or 10 climbs in the Pyrenees, so yeah, it's going to be pretty tough. You know, I'll be looking for my group, I think.
We've heard Motorola might be having a new sponsor.
I don't know. I haven't heard any confirmation of who the sponsor's going to be, or if there is a sponsor yet. So maybe you're asking the wrong person.
Do you think the efforts here of the Motorola riders will have made a difference for getting a new sponsor for next year?
I think so. We've had a very good Tour de France, but also leading up to the Tour de France, with the efforts of the team behind Lance Armstrong and Max Schiandri, and also myself in Sweden, in the races the month leading up to the Tour was very successful. But I think it's been a fantastic Tour de France so far for us, and hopefully we still have the chance of having somebody on the podium in Paris, and I think every bit of publicity helps.
And what about yourself? You're still looking at a stage win?
Well, it's not going to be today, and it's not going to be the day after tomorrow, the day after that, but you know, Bordeaux, there's always a chance, or Paris, but it's looking slimmer by the day, mate.
Once more a sunny start to the day, but as the race heads into the Pyrenees, the clouds will come down, bringing down the temperatures too, with a 15 degrees Celsius high. The westerly wind will be very tough over the top of the climbs and slow down the riders on the descents.
And this is a puncture. Well, it looks like a puncture. In fact, the mechanic is not taking his wheel out. There's a problem with Tony Rominger's rear wheel. And the mechanic, well, he seems to have solved it and is quickly pushing Rominger on his way again. Climb the Col de Joux, 1,530 meters. This is the first serious attack of the day. Oliveira Rincon heading up here. Leonardo Sierra, the only Venezuelan in the race, and the third man on the attack is Richard Vironk. And now as they come over the top of the climb, 65.5 kilometers covered, Vironk in the mist takes it ahead of Rincon and Sierra. And the attack by those 3 riders, forcing the Benesto team to try and limit their gains. At the moment, they're 6 minutes ahead. And they're climbing now the Col du Primorens, 169 kilometers covered. Rincon takes the top. Sierra is second, Virenque is third. So the riders continuing to be pursued by the whole of the Benesto team here as they now go on to the Port d'Envalira and the entrance into Andorra. And now the 3 leaders are in Andorra. They're on to the big climb of the day, the Port d'Envalira, and there we are, 52 kilometers still left to ride. But the gap is coming down. They're not panicking too much. They're keeping their tempo going very well. And in fact, the fine climbing here, especially by Oliveira Rincon, has now lifted him up into second place in the King of the Mountains competition. It's just as well, in fact, that Tony Rominger has been snatching the best of the rest places on the climbs. Otherwise, he would have been out of that polka dot jersey today by this attack.
That's an excellent attack that started early this morning with one of the Festina riders. The Festina team is actually registered here in Andorra, and this is Richard Vironk, another wearer of the yellow jersey in the Tour de France last year, and he gave it up to Pascal Lino, the winner of yesterday's stage.
And this is Eric Boyer. He's just a little bit ahead of the field. He broke away on the last climb, the Col de Primorens. And in fact, the field have lost sight of him for the moment in the mist on those lower slopes here of the Envalira Pass. But I don't think he's going to go very far, Paul, because they keep him in sight on the slopes here.
Well, the gap at the moment to Eric Boyer is only actually about 25 seconds, so if it was a clear day, they would see him. Banesto doing an excellent job. Jean-Francois Bernard at the front of the main field is setting a tempo just to make sure that the main field doesn't lose too much time on those three leaders, and this in fact is Jean-Francois Bernard, followed by Gérard Rouet, Julian Gorospe, all the Banesto riders at the front. Miguel Indurain well surrounded by his teammates today, and most of the main leaders of the Tour de France in this group. Gianni Bugno there in the white jersey of the world champion. Tony Rominger's not far behind, and in the middle, Miguel Indurain, the man they all want to try and knock off the top spot.
As we now go back here up to the leaders and see Rincon keeping the pace sensibly so at the front, because there are still two very, very nasty climbs to come as the three leaders now come through the cloud line, and you can see the lovely peaks of the Pyrenees here, and indeed you can see the cloud level as well. Well, Richard Virenque, he had a little go on the flat roads a couple of days ago because he lived in the area when he was coming into Montpellier. But today he's showing he can climb as well.
Definitely a very good move by the young French rider, attacking on the first climb of the day, the Col de Joux. It was quite obvious that the Banesto team weren't going to chase him, or even Olivier Rincon, who at the moment is lying in 12th place overall, just 21 minutes behind the leader Miguel Indurain. They've let them have their lead for the whole of the day, but it's starting to come down now under the pressure of the Banesto team, which, although in the first weeks of the Tour de France they didn't chase down many things, they're now taking over the reins of the race and putting the pressure on.
We're hearing on the radio at the moment, Jean Daugevin is in this group. This is him on the left of our picture. He's up here as the policeman, as the rider who's broken away at the moment is Franco Vona, the forgotten man of last year's Tour, lost in the euphoria of the great ride at Sestria by Claudio Chiappucci and the challenge by Miguel Indurain, because he finished second on both Alpine stages and he hardly made a headline. Now he's breaking away again as we go into the Pyrenees.
We've also been joined by Antonio Martin from the Amaya team. Again, a policeman who won't do much work because they have a man in the... Not very far away from them is Eric Boyer. That might be a good move for Eric Boyer if this group gets a chance to move clear, because after the top of this climb there is a very, very long descent down into the city towards Andorra before they turn off on a steep climb, the Col de Orindo.
And now the bunch has jumped onto the back of those four escapees, leaving just the three men out in front. There's the top of the Col today, or in the Spanish version, the Port. And it looks like this wonderful escape, which went right out at the beginning after a small attack by Charlie Motte, who was quickly caught. The breakaway started to form on the Col de Joux. After 48 kilometres, Virenque was first over the top there, and they've been in the lead ever since. And when we get to the top of the Col d'Envalira, then they'll be thinking more or less of the finish. 1 kilometre to the summit, and Richard Virenque is setting the pace. Sierra comes through on his wheel, and then quickly followed by Rincon, now second overall in the King of the Mountains. He'll climb a little bit more closer to Tony Rominger. If he wins this climb here, Rominger has to be content with the lower places, but again, I think it's Franco Vona having another go here. Remember, he's on the same team as Zenon Yaskula, third currently in the Tour de France. We haven't seen him all day. Vona trying to attract the attention, perhaps, of Indurain and draw him out, but Indurain not taking him on yet.
It's a good move by Vona. He did this last year a couple of times, as you said, in the stage to Sestria and then the stage to the Alpe d'Huez. A very strong rider in the mountains, not renowned as a real climber, but as a strong man who can stay away from the main field if they just give him a little bit of a chance to get out of sight, out of mind.
Abelardo Rondon now also trying to get away. One of the Gatorade riders on the team of Gianni Bugno. He's now having a go for the finish. But the gap is coming down. These counter-attacks are having a great deal of effect on the leading group as we go over the top of the Col. And it is, in fact, Sierra's turn to take the victory from Virenque and Rincon. And the gap, Paul?
The gap now is down to 3 minutes and 10 seconds, so it really has tumbled on that final climb there, on the climb there of the Col d'Envalira. It really is coming quite dramatically close together. And I think on the next climb, when we go to the Col d'Ordino, we could well see Franco Vona coming up to these three riders, but it's coming quite rapidly up behind as well, with the main field lifting their pace too.
And so Franco Vona, now the fourth place rider on the road. It's something like 3 minutes ticked by now since the other three riders have gone over the summit. And Vona, stage winner, double stage winner last year in the Tour of Italy. And now coming up to go over in fourth place, but the time gap has reduced dramatically. It's not quite 3 minutes yet. And on the right there, the riders have been pedaling now for more than 6 hours. 2 minutes, 52 seconds for Vona. And this will be Rondon, Abelardo Rondon, who's going over as well.
At the start of the Tour de France, there were 180 riders, but only 39 of those were from France. The rest of the riders come from all corners of the world, including Australia, Colombia, Canada, and states of the former Soviet Union. One of those riders is Vyacheslav Ekimov from Russia. For him, cycling has become a gateway to a new life.
Yeah, I've been in a very famous cycling school in St. Petersburg by Kuznetsov. He's a coach there. I was there 10 years. First year I just was training, was as not so much races. And I started in 1980. And then in 1981 I started with the races. First like a junior, and then I became an amateur.
How old were you then when you went to the cycling school?
I was 12 years old.
And you had to leave your family behind?
Yeah, first year I was more with the family. And then the second years I was live without the family.
You live in Belgium now with your wife and child. Do you think you'll go back to Russia when your cycling career finishes?
Yeah, when I stop his career, I will return back to Russia. Because for me there is more easy to live.
How do you feel about the state of Mother Russia now that you're in the West and earning so much money? How does that make you feel?
The people get big split, rich one and a poor one. So when I finish the cycling, I hope I will be not a rich man, but middleman. That's enough for living.
And welcome back to Tour de France on its first full day in the Pyrenees today. And when you left us, they were about to climb the Col d'Ordino, and this is what happened. Oliviero Rincon broke clear on the climb and went over the top, 1 minute and 15 seconds ahead of his erstwhile breakaway companions, Richard Virenque and Leonardo Sierra. And then chasing them together was Abelardo Rondon and Franco Vona, 2 minutes 5 seconds down. And further back, the main field going over, led over by Tony Rominger and Claudio Chiappucci, closing in all of the time, 2 minutes and 58 seconds. The situation today at the start of the race was that 143 riders were on the start line. 3 riders that we know of have given up, but many are trailing. Jim van der Leer, Francis Moreau, the World Pursuit Champion of a year ago, and surprisingly this Olaf Ludwig has gone, the winner of the stage a couple of days ago at Montpellier. The average speed so far, 34 kilometers now, pretty slow, but it's virtually all uphill today. And the average speed of the Tour still on a record pace, 40.622 kph. The leaders at the start of the day, Indurain in yellow, followed by Rominger in the polka dot, and Abdu Japarov in green, and reportedly riding well off the back of the yellow jersey group here of Indurain, but only about 6 minutes behind at the moment. He'll be happy enough with that today.
Well, the two chasing riders now have been picked up by the other two chasers who we'd forgotten about for a little while there, Abelardo Rondon and Franco Vona. So now we have a 4-man group chasing the lone leader, Oliviero Rincon. But still, I think the way that Rincon is riding at the front, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to come back, although we do have a Colombian chasing a Colombian, so that might be a little bit to his detriment.
Let's go back up to the leader. This is Oliviero Rincon. A lot of people fancied this rider before the start of the Tour de France to be the big surprise. He's waited and waited and waited, and today he's given us a superb demonstration of his great climbing skills. Literally climbed from nowhere in the King of the Mountains competition up into second place, and there's still 2 more solid days in the Pyrenees to come when he could well challenge Tony Rominger for his leader's jersey. It looks now indeed as though the chase group has splintered. Sierra's been in trouble a lot of times, now he's cracked again. is slipping away from that group. We saw a few moments ago was compact. Richard Virenque is hanging on in there though and doing a great ride, inspired by the fact his team is registered here in Andorra, and the big boss of the team has been on the race these last 2 days. We had a stage win from them yesterday with Pascal Lino, and now a good day out up front for Richard. There's the face of Indurain. Tells you nothing, does it? He just sits there. He hardly appears out of breath. I often wonder what he thinks about when he goes out for these daily rides in the Tour de France. The others are always moving around, out to the saddle, swinging the bike, but Indurain just sits there.
It's an extremely large group still left today after the mountains they've been over. I'm somewhat surprised that there was no big attack by Tony Rominger's team today to try and split it up. But I think in the back of everybody's minds is the 2 very hard days that we have after the rest day tomorrow in Andorra, which are supposed to be absolutely incredible. And people feel there will be bigger gaps on those 2 Pyrenean stages than there were in the Alps. That's Franco Vona who's gone clear from this group, the man who started the attack a long time ago at the Col de Omvilaria as we went over the top into Andorra, and Alvarado Rondon is unable to follow the pace set by Vona. Richard Virenque is just happy to stay with him.
The cream of the Tour de France in this leading group. 1 or 2 big names missing though. Eric Breukink certainly out of the Tour now. Olaf Ludwig, who had visions of the green jersey in Paris, but he's gone today. And now the cracked legs of Leonardo Sierra, and there he is. He's back in the fold for the first time in 185 kilometers over some tremendously cruel roads today. Let's hope he's got the strength now to just tag on to the back of this group of around about 30 riders. 4 kilometers to go now for Franco Vona here.
It looks very much to me as if Franco Vona is going to get another 2nd place on his palmarès.
Indurain now has got back to the front. Bjorn Ries is the rider on the left of our picture.
This is the first time I've actually seen what approaches a grimace on the face of Miguel Indurain. He's looking very, very concentrated today. I think earlier on he was suffering a little bit, and he said towards the end of some of these mountain stages he's been having a hard time, and I think in the days that will come he will show that he's a little bit scared of Tony Rominger.
And this now is the leader of the race coming up the mountain, and I don't think anybody's going to catch Rincon now. He's done a marvellous ride in this true spirit of the Tour de France over the Pyrenees as we go back to the chase group, and Rominger now will test Indurain, but Indurain, Paul, is right there.
He was straight away. Rominger will try, and he'll try every day when we go uphill. The acceleration there brought Alvarado Rondon back into the group, and Rominger looks over his shoulder to see that the reaction came straight away from Miguel Indurain. But look at the pressure. As soon as these men accelerate at the front, it splits the race completely.
They were all hanging in there thinking we're going to make it, and the gap just opened with the pure acceleration of Rominger. But Indurain had all the power he required. He just slipped it up a gear and was immediately on the wheel of Rominger. So too, for that matter, was Mejia of Colombia. Well, the 2 days in the Alps brought together these 3 riders. Here they are again. The same 3 men, the polka dot jersey of Rominger, who won both stages in the Alps. He's not going to win the first stage in the Pyrenees, that's for sure now.
One man who slipped away after that acceleration there is Zenon Jaskula, the man who's been hanging on to that 3rd place overall at the moment. Now Rominger carry on. He will know that Jaskula is no longer there. Chiappucci is there. Mejia is there. Barney Rice is there. And obviously Miguel Indurain in the yellow jersey, who has got no problem at all.
And 1 kilometre to go for the leader of the Tour de France today, but not the overall leader, just the leader on the stage. This is the select group behind. Chiappucci's been caught on one leg, but he's at the back of this group. The man who's missed it, Zenon Jaskula, and here comes Franco Vona. He's been caught now. And so they're all coming down except the one man who is surviving with a breakaway that's lasting the best part today of 200 kilometres. Where do they find their effort from? And the relentless tempo being set now by Tony Rominger.
But as we come up to the finish line, it's going to be a wonderful victory for Colombia.
Indeed it is. 7 hours and 20 minutes in the Pyrenees today, most of them uphill. This rider was in the lead for about 6 hours on his own, I think. Up goes the jersey, and now a victory for Oliveira Rincon of Colombia today. He gets the victory, and he deserves it enormously for a marvellous attack. He went clear in the end on the penultimate climb, and he held on to the finish while they swept up everybody else that followed him. Now, Indurain is again leading as the little man, Claudio Chiappucci, moves up on his inside. Watch out, Miguel, he's not going to wait for you. Claudio Chiappucci puts in the attack. Indurain tries to take his wheel and does. Rominger into third place, Mechia fourth. Then Bjorn Ries comes up in fifth. Jaskula is sixth. Martani is seventh.
Well, that was a superb little move by Claudio Chiappucci, and another move by Tony Rominger going down the left-hand side. But you see straight away, Miguel Indurain manages to respond. And the man who seems to me who's going to be very dangerous in the next few days, Alvaro Mejia, responds every time to the attacks of these two riders. And I'm sure when we come to the next two Pyrenean stages, he'll be a man to watch for something special.
Well, Chiappucci always looks as though he's struggling, but he's hanging on in there, and he's going to have another go. He moves up on the right. These are the stars of this year's Tour de France. We're looking down now on the men who have captured the leading positions overall, and this is why they climb the mountains so well. If only Chiappucci could ride the time trial, he'd have won this Tour de France probably a couple of times, but he can't, and therefore he can't win the Tour de France. But now the attack by Bjorn Ries. Look at this. Well, this is the find of this year's Tour de France. Up goes the gear as Bjorn Ries goes for home. He's being chased by Rominger, who feels the mountains are his this year. Rominger drops it up a gear, and as they come round, it looks as though Rominger might well come up Bjorn Ries's wheel, but I don't know. Bjorn Ries is looking across at him. No, he's beaten Ries. Rominger will get second place today, and in third place is the Danish rider Bjorn Ries. Fourth, I think, is Jaskula, and fifth will be Indurain, and sixth, Mechia, and seventh, as the riders come over the line, and that will be Gonzalez Arrieta. So in the end, the chase down came, and it all worked out so well for the leaders of the Tour de France today. There was only one man escaped them, and that was the Colombian stage winner. Let's have a look at the overall situation on the day. A win then for Oliveira Rincon, 7 hours, 20 minutes and 19 seconds. He pips the rest of the men who matter in this year's Tour de France by 1 minute and 50 seconds, leading them home Tony Rominger, Bjorn Ries and Zenon Jaskula. But one man that Indurain will thank tonight for the way he set the tempo until he couldn't do it anymore towards the end was his teammate from France, Gérard Rouet. And that's the man Alan Piper has chosen to speak to today.
Je t'ai vu dans la dernière école, tu as roulé incroyable pour l'équipe. C'est prévu comme ça?
Oui, c'est prévu. Il faut que j'accompagne Miguel. Il fallait que je roule pour éviter les attaques. Et bon, la dernière école, j'ai roulé jusqu'à mon maximum et jusqu'à 5 km de l'arrivée. Et puis voilà.
Et j'ai vu dans l'équipe, toi tu as dit, moi je n'ai pas d'importance, mais toi tu as bien l'importance pour Miguel.
Oui, je dirais que ce n'est pas une importance pour mon classement personnel, mais la grande importance c'est d'être prêt et d'être exact pour Miguel parce qu'on a un maillot jaune à défendre.
Mais comme c'est possible de rouler comme toi tu as roulé aujourd'hui, c'est beaucoup à donner à lui.
Oui, c'est beaucoup de lui donner, mais je crois qu'on peut donner beaucoup pour un maillot jaune.
Merci.
Amazing bike riders, aren't they, in the Tour de France? Gérard Rouet the other day was saying he was nobody in this race. Well, I would certainly contradict that. He's a great teammate of Miguel Indurain. Let's have a look at the overall. No change at all. Still 3 minutes, 23 seconds, the advantage to the second rider in this race, Alvaro Mejia. All of the rest of the riders, the same names we've seen now for the last couple of days. Phil Anderson loses a little bit more time. That won't worry him at all.